What's going on, everybody? Finally, we are off and we are live here on our FTN Network YouTube page, iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcasts, all the off-season prep, figuring out who went where. It's all over with because the puck finally drops tonight on the NHL season with 3 games on the slate. We have Connor Bedard making his NHL debut against Sid the Kid. That should be a pretty good one. The Penguins at home against the Chicago Blackhawks, a high total of 6.5. We'll have the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights at home. I saw Jack Eichel and the crew last night at the Raiders game. Eichel, big Pats fan. Makes sense, right? He's from the area. We have the Golden Knights taking on the Kraken, one of our favorite teams from last night, the Seattle Kraken. And then we have the Nashville Predators. Barry Trotz is back in town, but now the GM of the Preds, and he cleaned house. He got rid of some dead weight. Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson. They're going to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning without Andrei Vasilevskiy tonight. Welcome in. Chris Meaney here with you guys. My apologies on the late start. I've just had so many computer issues. Oh, it was driving me nuts. If George wasn't here to help me out, I don't know. I'd be like Ari, take the computer out and Entourage and just want to chuck it out the window. But here we go. We're ready to go. We got some picks. We got some props. We're going to talk NHL predictions. I have links inside the description of this video for anybody doing last-minute fantasy hockey drafts. Of course, my better half, Eric Young, is not with me at the moment. He says he's going to be back October 14th. So one more week here riding solo with you guys. And next week we'll have EY in the house. And he does want to have a fantasy hockey draft. He's actually pretty rattled because he's been overseas for quite some time and he hasn't been able to do many fantasy hockey drafts. So I think we should have a DBC, Dangle Bet Celly draft. Maybe we'll make it next week. I think we can still do it on Yahoo. Even though the season is already gone, I believe we can still get it done. I'll check in on that. If anybody wants to be part of that, hit me up. Let me know. We'll sign up. We'll have a live draft here. So we'll get into the 3 games. I have a free betting article over at ftnbets.com, and it is a lot. Division previews, predictions, props, win totals, futures, awards, all that stuff. It is all there for you. And I'm going to go over some of these things here with you guys today. So you have, your last day to get in some futures. I mean, you can still bet on some of these things, but player futures, the awards, of course, things will change, odds and stuff like that. You'll be able to do it as we move forward. We'll have some division parlays for you guys. But first, I want to get after tonight. And some of the props. And, we always start this show by saying what up to the crew. And I mean, you guys have been hanging out for quite some time here. Troy's in the house. Hockey's here. Forsberg over 2.5 shots, minus 175 is a bit steep. We do have in the bet tracker minus 150 for Peter Forsberg. And that I felt weird putting that one in. Because it is a little steep, right? We put that one in last night, minus 150. Connor Bedard, minus 140. I believe Bedard is almost unbettable now at 2.5 shots, minus 161. So have the bet tracker. Actually, Bet Rivers is hanging plus 120 for Bedard at 3.5. It's not bad if you're looking for a flyer. It's certainly not one of my favorite ones, but the perks, I suppose, of having the FTN betting package is you get all my picks. Lee's got some picks in there. He's got his NHL DFS article already live over at ftndaily.com. That's a separate package in its own. When you have the FTN Daily package, you will have all the sports across the board. No optimizer in the NHL, but we have one in the NFL, and our guy Alex Blickel is killing it. The entire team. D Jones won 25K the other night. I mean, the guys are absolutely crushing it. NBA's around the corner. Optimizer there as well. Projections tool, it's Discord channel. But for betting hockey, of the NHL package, we are running an early bird special right now. I tweeted it out. You can see it over at ftnbets.com/pricing. Use promo code Meaney. Save yourself a little bit of cash. It's like an NHL and an NBA package. I think the value is with the entire FTN Bets package because you'll get everybody's picks across all sports, as well as projections tools and the Discord channel. Like I hopped in there last night. I gave my thoughts, early thoughts, and we are seeing some massive line movement across the board, and we will. It's just the way it is. I think Vegas really adjusted last year when it came to NHL shot props, and we had to think outside the box. We had to go with players that we normally wouldn't go with. There's going to be a few guys that we're going to ride early on in the season, and I think it'll take some time for books to catch up to some of these players, aka Taylor Hall. We'll get into him in a second. But the perks of having, the bets in we have like a NHL Discord channel. We have an NHL like plays Discord channel. So when the play is made, boom, you get notified. But I like to jump in the Discord the night before, talk about some of my thoughts moving forward. And of course, we'll have conversations throughout the day as well. But Troy, Peter Forsberg, man, I'd be taking the over 5.5 on Peter Forsberg. Philip Forsberg, 2.5 is a good play. Like if I were to pick anybody tonight in the NHL to get 3 shots, it may be Forsberg. Jared McCann is there for me as well. Taylor Hall will get into, but Forsberg first goal so far. Forsberg point -140. I actually think I saw -125 for a Forsberg point, and I like it. I mean, it's a little bit of a new regime there. It's a very young squad in Nashville, but -125 is certainly as something. I see that over at DraftKings, and BetMGM's hanging -135. Prop Shop's your friend. It's like Google search, save you a lot of time, save you a lot of cash. You will find, type in Forsberg, a list of the books with everything there. I mean, shots on goal, assist points, power play points, first goal, score a goal, last goal. I mean, it's all there for you. Win MVP, all this stuff. And he's plus 220 to score a goal tonight, and I like it. I mean, there's no Vasilevsky, and that's from FanDuel. So it does save yourself a little bit of time. Adam, we're back. The crew is so sharp. And if you're just new to the show, smash the like button, rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend, do us a solid here, or EY will hunt you down and he'll kick your butt. But a super sharp crew in here, and they always have great plays. A couple of my favorite futures: Rivers, Unibet, Kempe, most goals, and the Kings plus 175. I like that one. Verhaeghe, most goals on the Florida Panthers plus 350. I like that one too. Kadri, most goals on Calgary plus 450. Yeah, that one's a good one. I would expect him to bounce back. I mean, getting Sutter out of town should help everybody in Calgary. Huberdeau's not really a shoot first guy, but I expect him to bounce back as well. Bouchard, 60 plus points FanDuel. And then I chimed in here earlier as we were trying to get going, and it was just taking me some time. I did Bouchard in our betting guide, 80 plus points at 10-1. We wrote about Bedard in the fantasy hockey draft kit. He unsustainable pace, but I think he had like 13, 15 points in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. They moved on from Tyson Barrie, and that was like, here you go. Now the first power play is yours. Oilers operated at a 32% rate last year, which was an NHL record. And guys had like over 50 points in the power play. Bedard's going to be on that power play. And you know what? He may just be a point per game guy this year. He really will. I would not be shocked if he led all defensemen in points. I would probably rank it Carlson, Heiskanen, and Bouchard, but Bouchard's right there for me. And a lot of the points is going to rack up. I don't have the exact number, but I want to say he had 13 power play points in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Pretty lethal stuff there. Oh, there you go. You're all over it. Forsberg -125 is definitely a good bet there for a point. Troy in the house. Good morning, y'all. Welcome in. Yes, we like McCann. I'm seeing the best odds for McCann over at FanDuel. 3+ shots at -106. We had that one in the bet tracker last night. We got Brzezis 91 in the house. Bedard over 2.5 shots tonight or a point. I like both. I think Bet365 is awesome if you can get involved over there, because they have the point parlays, right? You can do a same game parlay. And I did, I think I had Bedard and Taylor Hall for a point at around +155 or +180. I think maybe +180, and +155 was Matty Beniers and Jared McCann. And then we have Eichel and Marsh, so at +115 for a point. We got some stuff. We'll get into my favorite plays here in just a second. We got Wham in the house. Let's get some W's in the chat. There's one for you. Tampa, Pitt, Vegas win tonight. I think we could see the Kraken upset them. I don't know. They're kind of our team, right? So we'll see. Morning means in the Dangle Bet Celly crew. Lee in the house, go Sharks. Dude, going to be a long season for your Sharks. Going to be a long season for my Canadians as well. We're already talking lottery in Montreal. KJ Osborne, fab bid. Yeah, right? Tough week. Mean Street's a little bit later on. We'll get into the football stuff, but JJ on the IR, Devon Achan is going to miss some time. James Conner's going to miss some time. It was a really rough week for sure. If we continued to stash for Sean Johnson, this may be the time, because Khalil Herbert is also week to week. Okay. I'm going to roll through some props here first, and then we'll get into the games. I actually don't have a strong feel on much. I like Chicago, and I have a strong feel, obviously, for some props. I mean, it's only 3 games, so we still have a lot of props here. When there's 10 games, Eric is calling 1,000 goal scorers, and we have 1 million shot props. But I think, from a sides and total standpoint, the over stands out to me between Chicago and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh and the over. I think the Blackhawks will be able to score a couple goals, but defensively they don't have it. And I know we all have our eyes on Connor Bedard tonight. He definitely is a generational talent. He loves to shoot the puck. I mean, if you just watch his, the junior career and into the World Juniors setting records, he definitely has an awesome release already. I mean, we're going to see it firsthand. The kid can shoot, but he's also a sneaky little playmaker, and it's going to be an adjustment period for him. He's just a child. He's just a child, and he's pretty small. I watched pretty much every one of his games in the preseason. He certainly could make things happen. He's going to be the trigger man on that power play. He's going to play, at that half circle. I think him and Taylor Hall are going to shoot the puck quite a bit on the power play, and Seth Jones. Lucas Reichel's a nice kid that I like for the Blackhawks as well. They have a couple decent players. I like that they brought in some veterans for Bedard. You can't just have them with no skilled players and nobody that has any experience. You want to have them learn from some people like Taylor Hall as a former top pick, former Hart Trophy winner. He's had some success in the playoffs lately, coming from the Bruins. These guys are going to play together all year long. Seth Jones has got some experience, on the back end. They brought in Corey Perry. They brought in Nick Foligno. Those guys are, slow as molasses, but they have some experience at least, and they can show, Bedard the way to go here. But I think that it's just not a lock. We're not, like, I saw DraftKings hanging 10 plus shots for Connor Bedard today at 75-1. I mean, sure, at 75-1, I don't put a buck or two on that pizza money, right, for Bedard, but what are we doing here? 10 plus shots. I think he's going to have a few shot attempts, but it is the first game overall, and I think the Blackhawks will live in their own end a lot this season. But I'm going to start here with, I do think if I'm picking somebody, and Coast to Corner, we are back. Go Sens go. Really like your Sens. We got some predictions in a little bit. I got them as a playoff squad. Okay, let me find it. As I said earlier, I believe maybe the best one is Philip Forsberg. He's a big time, shooter. He's going to get a lot of ice time for the Preds here. But I'm going to start with Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall over 2.5 shots, plus 150 over at Bet365. I see DraftKings hanging plus 145. The odds will change a little bit, but for the most part, it should be plus money here for Taylor Hall. I think books are taking a look at Taylor Hall's usage last year with Boston. Played a career high 1556 for the Bruins. He only averaged 2.5 shots on goal over 61 games with Boston. And for the most part, he was buried on the third line and on the second power play. Like, the Bruins were extremely loaded. So what can you do? I mean, a luxury. It's just not going to be the case here. I think you can go back to 2017-18 when Taylor Hall won the Hart Trophy. He scored 39 goals. He had 93 points, 278 shots on goal, all career highs for him. He averaged 19 minutes per game, and he had 3.6 shots per game that season. I don't think he's going to have that type of season here in his first year with the Chicago Blackhawks, but he should play top line. He should play first power play. I think this is a guy that's going to get a lot of ice time with the Chicago Blackhawks. And he's a volume shooter. He loves to shoot the puck. He's still got some speed. So over 2.5 shots at plus 150, I believe, is a really good price. And there's a couple other Taylor Hall props that I like as well. He's minus 110 over at DraftKings for a point. I put a full unit on that. He's plus 230 over at Bet365 for an assist. I put half a unit on that. And if you want another long shot, he's plus 350 over at DraftKings to pick up a power play point. So, yeah, the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be a bad team this year. The Pittsburgh Penguins should be better, like the addition of Erik Karlsson, but not sold on Tristan Jarry. They gave up some goals last year. This one could be a fun game. I would expect Pittsburgh to win it, maybe a 5-2 game. Maybe Chicago surprises us a little bit and keeps it a little bit closer than that. So Taylor Hall at over 2.5 shots. Let's not look into last season's numbers that much, right? This is going to be a guy that I think will get back into the 19, 20-minute range. So we're leading here with Taylor Hall at over 2.5 shots plus money, plus 150, in fact, and it is our free bet of the day over at ftnbets.com, and it was one that I put in last night. Let's just see some live odds over at ftnbets.com in the prop shop here. Wow. Yeah, some books have 1.5. Bet Rivers 1.5 minus 167. So the odds have changed a touch. We see plus 130 across the board over at DraftKings, BetMGM, and Bet365. So again, the perks of having the FTN betting package, you get notified right away. We talk about it. You get those best odds. Anybody else feeling me here? Yeah. I mean, yeah, just a solid parlay piece. I agree. There's some players, and I'll identify them later, that you just can't bet. as a single. Like we can't do that at minus 167. But if you are a Bet Rivers user, you could at minus 167, you could put him into a parlay and away you go. Two leg parlay. We have a couple of those. For example, I have a Jonathan Marchessault and Ryan O'Reilly. Both of those guys are extremely juiced. Put him into a parlay at plus 159. So yeah, minus 167 is a pretty good price there. But if you didn't get the plus 150, you can still get in on the plus 130 at DraftKings, BetMGM, Bet365, and Caesars hanging plus 120. Here's a couple others that I like tonight. Jared McCann, 3+ shots over at FanDuel at minus 106. And FanDuel is out to lunch with some of their props, like the 3+, 4+, 5+. Like, it's not really good odds. But it's fun to do a little same game parlay over there, and I'll have one for you. We've seen a little bit of line movement here over at DraftKings at minus 140, Bet365 minus 140, BetMGM minus 145, Caesars minus 149. FanDuel not popping up in the prop shop for some reason, but I saw last night, in fact, help from somebody in our Discord channel. We went over to FanDuel Sportsbook, and I saw 3+ shots for Jared McCann at minus 106. Jared McCann coming off a career high in terms of goals with 40 assists, 30 points, 70 shots, 210, ice time 620. Last season with the Kraken, he also registered a career high 19% shooting rate, 12.1% for his career. So unsustainable. Don't expect him to hit 40 goals. But having said that, he has 67 goals and 409 shots in 2 seasons with the Kraken. And he received more ice time as the season progressed, which resulted in more shot attempts for McCann. The winger averaged 18 minutes and 3.9 shots per game over his final 22 minutes. That's solid. 18 minutes per game and 3.9 shots per game. On the season, he only averaged 16 minutes. Over the first 19 games at the Kraken last year to start last season, he averaged 2.1 shots and 15 minutes per game. So he went from 15 minutes a game to 18 minutes a game to 2.1 shots per game to 3.9 shots per game. The Golden Knights are a great 5-5 hockey team. Right? They're loaded. They're a little bit banged up. That happens, right? Look at the Florida Panthers. You go through that long Stanley Cup run, be a little bit sluggish to start the season. I don't expect a Stanley Cup hangover for the Golden Knights. I would expect them to make it. 6 years in the league, they won the cup. They've been in the finals twice. They made the playoffs in 5 of the 6 years. They just have so much experience. That Marchessault line was awesome for us last year. We had Jonathan Marchessault to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. We loved that. And the line with him and Eichel and Barbashev was great. And in the preseason, they racked it up as well. And they're a line that I would look at here this evening. The Kraken led the NHL in 5-5 shooting percentage, the only team at double-digit percent. So we will see some of the players, I think, regress a little bit. McCann potentially one of them, but I also think some of their players may just take another step. Matty Beniers is a guy that I like for a breakout candidate. Over 20 goals as a rookie last season. He was phenomenal. Won the Calder Trophy. And like Oliver Bjorkstrand's a sneaky little guy that I like. Yanni Gord, that line. Tolvanen's a nice little player. So the Kraken got some dudes for sure. That should be a really, really fun game. I actually feel like maybe Seattle could upset them. It's really tough to say that because it's going to be a great atmosphere in Vegas tonight. The Cup, everyone's going to be amped up. The players are all right. Are we back? Are we back? We're back. My goodness. I've just had the worst luck with technology lately. I don't know what's happening. We lost a few people. We're back though, right? We got Taylor Hall. Oh my goodness. the frustrations. I'm having a day. I'm having a week. It's frustrating. Anyways, my apologies. My apologies. Emmerich, we're back. It crashed. Yes. Okay. So we left off with Jared McCann, right? I think we got all of that. Did we get, George, can you give me? Yeah, we got all of Jared McCann. We got the ice time boost, right? We got the usage boost, the shot. He's like, yeah, I'm not listening to you. I got the other things to talk about. What the heck am I doing here? So yeah, Jared McCann, we got. If you missed the little spiel, career highs across the board from him, and 18 minutes per game and 3.9 shots per game over the final 22 games compared to 15 minutes and 2.1 shots per game over his first 19. Jared McCann, here we go. We talked about Taylor Hall, minus 110 for the point there. We talked about the usage, how we're going to see a massive uptick in terms of usage. I think we can go back to his New Jersey Devils days and not having those type of goals and that type of scoring, but the minutes are key. And at times last year, we hammered Taylor Hall when there was an injury with the Bruins and Taylor Hall jumped on the first line, he jumped in the second line, and it was always good odds, great odds, because books are just not adjusting. They're looking at the track record, but he's going to have all the opportunity here in Chicago to get it done. So this is what I'm talking about. These four players: Jonathan Marchessault, Philip Forsberg, Connor Bedard, and Ryan O'Reilly. So we do have Connor Bedard in the bet tracker over 2.5 shots, minus 140. I don't want to suggest anything over minus 140, minus 150. Like it's too rich to get involved. So the odds have changed as a single for Connor Bedard. For Philip Forsberg, still see minus 150, but that's only at Bet365 and BetMGM. DraftKings is hanging minus 175. So I believe these two parlays are from Bet365. We got Jonathan Marchessault over 2.5 shots, Philip Forsberg over 2.5 shots at plus 154. Then we have Bedard at over 2.5 shots and Ryan O'Reilly at over 1.5 shots plus 164. Again, Ryan O'Reilly, don't look at his days with the Leafs. He's a number one center with Nashville. They're really thin up front. They're extremely young. Forsberg and O'Reilly are going to get a ton of ice time, power play time. So we're just looking for 2 shots for O'Reilly. We're looking for over 2.5 for Connor Bedard. You want to have some fun with Bedard? 3+, 4+, 5+. You want to have a little sprinkle on the 75-1 over at DraftKings for 10 shots? Sure. I'd be shocked if he had 10, but I could see 5 or 6. We do have a same game parlay that from FanDuel I'll share in a second. But the final one here on the board is from Bet365 as well. Jonathan Marchessault and Jack Eichel for a point at plus 115. Had a lot of fun with these same game parlays last year over at Bet365. They correlate. I would be taking line mates. I would be taking players that played together on the power play. So Marchessault and Eichel is the one that I like the most at plus 115. I have another one with Matty Beniers and Jared McCann to have a point as well. That one is plus 155. And then Taylor Hall and Connor Bedard to have a point each. That one is at plus 180. I actually put one into a same game parlay here with all of those dudes. And I'm still waiting on some news for the Penguins. Jake Gensel, everything I heard from Jake Gensel or from the Penguins was that Jake Gensel was, we'll go to that one. Bloody mess here today. Jake Gensel was going to miss the first few games of the season. Now he's practicing. He practiced the past couple days. He took morning skate today. So I'm not totally sure. But last night, even if he plays, I still like this. Last night, we put this in the tracker. I think it's 7-1. Crosby, Ricard Raquel, Bedard, and Hall for 3+ shots. That's over at FanDuel. 3+ shots. That is 7-1, half a unit on something like that. And those are really the plays that I like. Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly for a point. Those guys together. Braden Point is juiced for a point. So maybe do a same game parlay with those 3 guys. O'Reilly, Forsberg, potentially Braden Point. A same game parlay. You could really have some fun with the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. And you could do something like, actually, let's walk one out. You guys want to get nuts parlay to start the season? Let's walk it out. Points. We'll just do the Pittsburgh and we'll do the Chicago game because I think we could see a lot of offense there. You could go Riley Smith point, Raquel point. I want to wait on Crosby and Gensel, but Crosby 2 points, Erik Karlsson a point. Just having those guys like Riley Smith, Ricard Raquel point, Crosby 2, and Karlsson for 1 point. That's 6-1. You want to get greedy? You put in Hall, you put in Connor Bedard. That's 16-1. You get real greedy here. I'm doing this live for you guys on the app. We'll go Crosby 3 shots, Hall 3 shots, Bedard 3 shots. Raquel's not on there. There's a 60-1 parlay that I'll probably put in the bet tracker at like 0.10 units. It is Bedard 3 shots, Hall 3 shots, Crosby 3 shots. Bedard point, Hall point, Carlson point, Crosby 2 points. You could come off of that. Maybe just go Crosby assist if you want. It won't change the odds too much. Riley Smith point, Rickard Rakell point. I will wait it out a little bit to hear on Jake Guentzel. If Guentzel plays, I may just put him in with Crosby at over 1.5 points, or maybe I'll just leave Guentzel off to the side, maybe jump off of Riley Smith a touch, because I think if Guentzel, there's a couple things that they could do. If Guentzel doesn't play, we could see Riley Smith up on that line. We could see Brian Rust up on that line. But either way, that's the top 6 that I all think will hit the score sheet tonight. Crosby and Malkin, Rakell, Riley Smith, if Guentzel plays, and Brian Rust. Carlson for a point, an assist, maybe something on the power play, because I think the Chicago Blackhawks will let a couple goals in. All right, there's a lot of comments here. Oh, Hammerhead Union's in the house, give them plays. So we got some comments for sure. We love it. Pens in regulation. Yes, Pens first, but we like Pittsburgh here tonight. The picks are too good. They're trying to shut you down. Luke Testa in the house tonight. We did give the Kraken money line a little bit earlier today. Big NHL trying to shut down Meaney. I love that. That's jokes. You guys think way too much of me, which is just not true at all. But here we are. There we go. Guentzel is playing, according to Elliot Freeman. It's huge news. It's big time news. And it's enough for me to have like a same game parlay with Crosby and Guentzel for 2 points, right? These guys are 1.5 points. The other guys that I gave earlier, why I like them, like Marchessault and Eichel for a point at plus 115. It's just 1 point and they correlate. They play 5 and 5 together and they play on the power play. You need a couple goals when you go Guentzel and you go Crosby, but Guentzel's at 2.5 shots at minus 165. That's juice. It's something that I like. These assist props is where we really started to make adjustments last year, because a lot of the shot props were juiced. And because they were juiced, we had to put them in parlays or we had to avoid them. But we started to go with these like point parlays or just single points, like Taylor Hall. Like Taylor Hall shouldn't be plus 230 for an assist tonight, right? And he's nearly even money for a point. For example, we got Jake Guentzel. I mean, coming off the injury, but the matchup is so nice. I'll do a little sprinkle here at 1.5 points at plus 175. But the one that stands out to me for Guentzel is an assist at plus 100, right? We got Chicago here. We got a game total at 6.5. I think it's going to go over. I like the Pens to win, not even just regulation. I like them to win on the puck line. I think they win by a couple goals here. It's funny that these two teams are playing. If you remember, Pittsburgh was minus 400 favorites on the second last day of the season. All they needed to do was beat Chicago to win and get into the playoffs, and they couldn't do that. So they got the Blackhawks here again. But Jake Guentzel for an assist at plus 100, that's a pretty good one right there. And that's one thing that, again, I think that there's something to be said about these point props. Philip Forsberg will write down here at minus 125 for a point. Ryan O'Reilly, like they correlate, minus 105 for a point. I mean, it's not Vasilevsky between the pipes, right? The Tampa's going to give up some goals this season. They continue to lose depth every single year. Again, other points here. Bedard's minus 150, but 365, put him in there with Taylor. What do we got? There's nothing great on Pittsburgh. Minus 135 for Brian Rust for a point isn't too bad. Minus 160 is a little steep for Rickard Rakell. I like Riley Smith at minus 130 for a point. I think he finds a way to pick up an apple or something like that. Jared McCann at minus 125 for a point. Jonathan Marchessault at minus 145 for a point. That's pretty good. And also like Shea Theodore at plus 100 for a point as well. So I'm giving you guys a lot of plays here, obviously, but these are the ones. These are the ones that have been in the tracker. These are the ones that are my favorite. And it starts with Taylor Hall at over 2.5 shots. And we continue to hammer Hall just a touch with the point at minus 110. Jared McCann at 3+ shots over at FanDuel. Marchessault and Forsberg over 2.5 shots, plus 154. Bedard and Ryan O'Reilly. We got Ryan O'Reilly over 1.5. Bedard at over 2.5 plus 164. Marchessault and Jack Eichel there for a point as well. So those are the plays for tonight. For the winners, I would say Tampa squeezes one out at home. I would go with Pittsburgh. You can do Pittsburgh in 60, Pittsburgh puck line Over 6.5 goals between Pittsburgh and Chicago is my favorite of the in terms of sides and totals. It really is my favorite for tonight. And then I like Seattle. I like Seattle on the money line to go in, and it should be a really fun atmosphere in Vegas, but I do like the Kraken here. We got a couple comments. Hammerhead's got 1,000 picks, so good stuff, man. We're back. We're excited, right? Columbus Blue Jackets allegedly trading a defenseman before their first game. Okay, yeah, Bean. I could see Bean. I actually heard Bean a little bit. There's some rumors about him potentially being traded, so we'll see what happens there. Gensel is in. We appreciate that. Adam, we love that. You guys have any goal scorers for tonight? Yeah, I'll give you some goal scores for caffeine. Let's go. We love it. Kraken in 7. Hashtag Kraken in 7. Dangle Bet Celly last year. We got some predictions, some futures that we're going to wrap up the show with. But yeah, for goal scorers, sure. Let's call a couple. Let's start. Actually, from my betting article is free. Let's just go with what I wrote last night. FTNbets.com. I'll have one every Tuesday and every Thursday. Let's see. Where is that article? Oh, man. I don't have it handy. So I think I went with, oh yeah, here it is. These are the goal scorers I went with in the article. Jonathan Marchessault, Sidney Crosby, Taylor Hall, Braden Point, Philip Forsberg, Riley Smith, and Jared McCann. If you just want to have a couple, I would go with Marchessault, Crosby, Point, and Forsberg. But I like all those guys. Marchessault, Crosby, Hall, Point, Forsberg, Riley Smith, Jared McCann. I think Pittsburgh's going to score a couple, right? I wasn't thinking that Gensel would play, so I was in on Riley Smith, but Gensel and Rickard Rakell are really good options to score goals as well. I think just I gave Hall and I gave Riley Smith these like longer shots. Yeah, let's get into some predictions. We got some predictions here. I may be out to lunch with some of these, but here we go. And come at me. But just don't tell me to kill myself like the guy who was upset I said to sit Joe Burrow, because that guy is not cool. NHL predictions. Here we go. Atlantic. It's the Leafs. It's the Leafs year, everybody. Oh no, it's the Leafs year. I think they're going to win the Atlantic Division. And I think they're going to win the Atlantic Division pretty easily. The Toronto Maple Leafs, I like a lot of their offseason moves. And I like that like Kerfoot and Michael Bunting and Justin Hall, these guys are no good. They're no good. I like that they brought in Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi, John Klingberg. I don't care about Ryan Reeves. This guy's going to, be a fan favorite. He's going to throw his body around. He's going to drop gloves and fight people. But in the playoffs, he's going to be invisible. He's going to be a healthy scratch. I mean, this guy's going to play 8 minutes a night and he's a liability. So I didn't really like that pickup, but Bertuzzi, Domi, and Klingberg on 1-year deals. The core is elite. Samsonov was really good between the pipes last season. Matthew Nyes is a nice young player. I like the Leafs, man. I like the over 1.5 points. We got some other futures and predictions and point totals and players, but since we're just on them, I like them to win the division at plus 185. I like them to win the Eastern Conference at 6-1. A little bit of a sprinkle there. 0.25 for the cup. I'm not totally into the cup. They're a good regular season team. I think they're going to cruise all year, but come playoff time, they'll probably choke, right? So I would get in on them for the regular season to win the division, maybe win the Eastern Conference. Not bad. Ilya Samsonov over 32.5 wins. I like as well. So I like Toronto to win the division. I think Florida, it could be slow moving for them to start. They're without Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad for the first couple months of the season, potentially. Like I think the timeline is all over the place for Montour, anywhere from November to January. And Sam Bennett is out for the first couple of weeks. Sergei Bobrovsky is just not going to be the same type of goalie that he was in the playoffs. It's just, this is not going to happen, especially when they're going to be missing, two of their best defensemen to start the season. Forsling is going to eat up a lot of ice time. He's going to be a decent DFS play. Maybe we get involved with him in shots and points and things like that. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is going to man that first power play for the Panthers. Hold the fort down. Ottawa. Like the moves, man. Really like the mostly I like the addition of Korpisalo. When I say the moves, like last year getting Jacob Chikrin, who is a stud. The emergence of Sanderson, I think, will ease off Thomas Chabot a touch, because Thomas Chabot has just played so much over the past couple of years, and it will keep him fresh and going. Josh Norris is not ready to go. There's some concerns in Ottawa. If he can get back, the top 6 is loaded. Drake Batherson's in for a breakout season. They got Tarasenko there. We know that the top line with Stützle and Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux is fantastic. So I think Ottawa will make that leap. And I got the Bruins here at 4. And honestly, this was really tough for me because I got the Bruins at 4. I got the Sabres at 5. I got the Lightning at 6, Detroit and Montreal. The Habs will be brutal again. Detroit made a lot of offseason moves, but I still don't really believe in the squad overall. Like they need a bounce back season from Raymond. They need more from Andrew Kopp. Like I like to bring Cat. They brought in some defensive players that I think will help out their game a touch as well. Maybe some offensive upside and Gossespierre and Petrie. Husso's underrated, but they're just not there yet. In Tampa, the first 2 months without Andre Vasilevsky, and it just continue to lose depth pieces like Palat and then this year Killorn. And so I think they'll fight. Buffalo defensively, they don't have a ton of great pieces. What's been in the issue with Buffalo, I mean, certainly last year, is they couldn't keep the puck out of their net. I think Devin Levi's a good goalie. Northeastern, he was awesome. And I think if he can just be above average, the Sabres are going to be top 5 in goal scoring again, over 4 goals a game. Like that top line is loaded. Dylan Cousins, they got a lot of nice pieces there. Had a breakout season from Casey Middlestat. So I think the Sabres, we will see better goaltending from them. Connor Clifton, underrated. I think that was a good addition for Buffalo. We're going to see another leap forward here from Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin, who just got paid handsomely. My goodness. Wow. He is good. So I got the Sabres fighting for a playoff spot. The Bruins, I think I got playoff predictions in a little bit. Just the thing with Boston, and I know I've gotten a lot of pushback already from this, is, man, they lost a lot of players, and they didn't really replace them with anybody, right? You lose Patrice Bergeron, you lose David Krejci, you lose Taylor Hall, you lose Tyler Bertuzzi, you lose Clifton, you lose Dmitry Orlov. Like they had an NHL record 65 wins and 135 points. They're still sound. Right? Defensively, they're still good. McAvoy and Lindholm are going to eat up, 24, 25 minutes a game. Like they're still good defensively. They're strong in goal. I think Linus Ullmark has a step back. I think Swayman has a step back because ultimately, like they're just not as good. They're not as deep down the middle. And that's just straight up. I'm not being a Bruins hater, but they're straight up not good deep down the middle. Like Zaka and Charlie Coyle. Charlie Coyle has probably been one of the better third line players in the league. And he's going to break out as a second line center. And you can call him a first line center if you want, 1A, 1B, and play with Pasternak. Or no, we'll have Zaka play with Pasternak, and Coyle will play with DeBrusk, and he'll play with Marchand. Like it'll be a pretty good line, but that may catch up to them. And I don't want to say like injuries, but what if they're one Pasternak injury away from being a pretty mediocre squad? Like if anything happened to Pasternak, what's going to happen? Like their big additions is Milan Lucic and JVR. I mean, come on. JVR can give him something on the power play. He could score 15 power play goals. It wouldn't be shocked. He's slow. Milan Lucic is slow. So I have some concerns about the Bruins. I think they'll hang and they could be a playoff squad, but I have some concerns. Over in the Metro, this is it, man. This is the Devils' year. I'm a big believer in learn how to lose before you learn how to win. We saw the Devils last year come from behind against their arch rivals in the Rangers, down 0-2 in the series, come back and win, get spanked by Carolina, learning a thing or two from them. I just think they're completely loaded across the board. Jack Hughes is going to have over 100 points. It's going to be an Art Ross conversation. I know McDavid, it's like a cheat code, right? But he'll still be in the conversation. He'll be in the conversation for Hart. Timo Meier, let's not look into Timo Meier too much last year. It's tough. Right? A guy going over to a new environment, West Coast, East Coast, adjustments, chemistry with certain players. They signed him. They extended him. Nico Heischer's unbelievable. Tyler Toffoli. All Tyler Toffoli does is score goals and win Stanley Cups. Hamilton, Luke Hughes on the back end, Dawson Mercer. And I think Schmid may overtake Vanacek between the pipes. I think he's one of the better backup goalies in the league. His numbers were better at 5-5. He was a better goalie last year into the playoffs. I am all in on the New Jersey Devils. Carolina here, I wish they did more offensively. Bringing in Bunting, I guess, is not too bad. But the decor is just unbelievable. Adding Dmitry Orlov to what they already have and Tony DeAngelo back there in Carolina. The biggest concern is, can Anderson stay healthy? Kochetkov, Antti Ranta, all these guys kind of hold the fort down. But come playoffs, like, is Anderson ready to go? Is he the guy? Is Kochetkov taking that next step? Carolina, one of the better 5-5 teams in the NHL. Special teams is off the charts, especially penalty kill. They're well coached. Bredemore's favored to be the coach of the year. They're just loaded. The Rangers, they need that leap forward from Capo. They need the leap forward from Lafreniere. One of those two guys need to take that leap forward for me to take them seriously to go on a cup contending run. That's really the bottom line. Shesterkin is fantastic. some odd moments from him last year, but he's still a top goalie in the NHL. Getting Blake Wheeler with some experience there. It's pretty much the same squad, but they need one of those kids to break out. Pittsburgh bringing in Erik Karlsson and having that core. Like, I really do like the moves that Dubas made. Pittsburgh not making the playoffs last season, but Dubas was, I joked about it in the article. He's making more trades than your 12-year-old nephew in like year number 4 in the Dynasty League in NHL. Like, he's just Dubas came in and made moves right away. And I like a lot of the moves. Apparently he's been after Erik Karlsson for years. He did get Erik Karlsson. So you have Erik Karlsson, Riley Smith, who won a cup last year. He's great on the penalty kill. Ryan Graves blocks everything. Noel Acciari's got some experience. Lars Eller's got a cup. Nedeljkovic behind Tristan Jarry. The one thing is they re-signed Jarry, and I'm not completely sold on him being a good goalie. He's had some good moments, but he's had a lot of bad ones. More bad moments than good ones. Sidney Crosby, Jake Gensel, Malkin, Letang, the whole core is getting a little bit older, minus Gensel, but one more year here for Pittsburgh, and I think that they'll find a way to get in the playoffs. Like the additions of the Blue Jackets, Troy, I just don't think that they're there yet. 59 points last season, missed the playoffs, but, Fantelli falling to them at 3. We like Marchenko for a breakout season. We like Kent Johnson. Patrick Laine looks motivated this year. Boone Jenner's great. Zach Werenski. If these guys stay healthy, the Blue Jackets will compete. I like the over on their point total, and it's 72.5. Like, they had 59 points last year, and they had a lot of guys out of their lineup. Their weekend goal, like, if Elvis can stay healthy, he can certainly have some moments for them. I think they're better than Washington, a little bit older. Their big move was Pacioretty, just a lot older. And I still think Ovechkin's got it, but Backstrom and Yoshi, these guys haven't been able to stay healthy. Kuznetsov doesn't seem motivated at all, in my opinion. The Islanders, I'm a little sour on the Islanders, and people may ask why. They have the exact same team, and that's it. They have the exact same team, and they're just old. They're just getting older and older and older. I like Bo Horvat, and I'm excited about Horvat and Barzell, and Nelson and Lee are very underrated. Love Noah Dobson in the back end, and they're very strong in goal with Ilya Sorokin. I should have had them probably over Washington looking at this, and really maybe even over the Blue Jackets, but I just think the Blue Jackets will take that leap forward. It'll be a long year in Philly, but I love seeing Sean Couturier healthy. He's one of my favorite players in the NHL. We haven't seen him in 2 years, really. A nice two-way player. I like Owen Tippett as a breakout candidate in bangers leagues. I think he's going to be real nice, right? Real nice. He throws his body around, he shoots the puck. Owen Tippett's going to be a guy that we hammer in terms of shot props. I'm all in on the Dallas Stars this year. I was all in last year at the deadline when they made the additions of Dadonov and Domi. I had them as like a to win the cup. I like them this year a lot. I like that they got Matt Duchene. I think they're loaded. Offensively, got 3 lines. They brought Dadonov, and I know he's not fantastic, but with Wyatt Johnson and Jamie Benn, that worked. The top line with Pavelski, Hintz, and Robertson worked, and the third line has Sagan and Domi on it. Sagan and Duchene on it. Are you kidding me? Sagan and Duchene is a third line? That's real nice. They're strong in goal. Ottinger, Heiskanen's a baller. I really like the Stars. Colorado, the thing with Colorado, like last year, they were going to make the playoffs. So we were in on the Kraken to upset them, right? We liked that pick. Colorado just didn't replace Nazem Kadri, and that hurt them down the middle of the ice. They thought JT Compher and Alex Newhook could take that step forward, and they didn't. In fact, both of those guys are now gone. Compher's in Detroit, Newhook's in Montreal. I like the addition of Ryan Johansson. He's got some experience. That's a good second-line center. Nichushkin's back. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like Gabriel Landeskog is anywhere close to returning. Bringing in Jonathan Drouin, expectations should be low with Drouin, but played with McKinnon in Halifax and watched those two guys light it up. And, it was Drouin who was better than McKinnon at the time. Certainly McKinnon should have went first overall, and he did. That was the right call. But back with his old buddy, they're kind of lighting it up already in preseason. Drouin's got the speed. He's got the playmaking ability to stick with McKinnon. You got Lehkonen up there. So they can move guys around, but I would expect Mikko Rantanen and McKinnon and Drouin. Drouin's a sneaky little player. We're going to be all over his props to start, like point props and assist props, because Vegas will be thinking that he's a Montreal Canadian and he's not doing anything. He's playing with good players now, and I think it changes its pace and scenery will be great for it will be fantastic for Jonathan Drouin. And they're strong in goal. Alexander Georgiev is really good, and they're unbelievable on the blue line. Like, what can we say about the Colorado Avalanche? We like them. Minnesota, Winnipeg, Arizona, Nashville, St. Louis, and Chicago. I really want to focus on Arizona. I was really close to putting them in the playoffs. Like Columbus, I think a step forward, but maybe not yet. I think if you're looking for two long shots, though, to make the playoffs, it would be Columbus and Arizona. Arizona's 5-1 to make the playoffs. The Blue Jackets are 9-1 to make the playoffs. I think Arizona is just, sneaky good. They were one of the better teams in the second half of last season. Clayton Keller, 5-5 numbers over the last 2 months of the season. Clayton Keller was behind two players in goals and points. David Pastrnak and Nathan McKinnon. Barrett Hayton broke out last season. He's a former top pick. I believe in the breakout. I like the addition of Sean Durzi. Alex Kerfoot, Jason Zucker, Matt Dumba, some experienced players, so they're going to have a better roster. Logan Krause is solid. Michelli's a really nice rookie from last year. I like him quite a bit. Logan Cooley is a stud. They have some decent players. They're decent in goal as well. My thing is, defensively, they don't really have a lot of great players. I like Durzi. I think he's going to break out. He's going to have the power play time to him and have some skilled stuff going on for him, fantasy breakout. But I don't think that they're going to be too strong on the blue line. Minnesota, just strong in goal. Not a lot of changes. Can Marco Rossi break out? Gustafsson, I think, is a really good goalie. So I have Minnesota there. And the Jets, the Jets made out okay in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. I really like Velarde. He's going to be a favorite of ours as well. Nice, sneaky little sleeper. We're going to be looking at his shot props. He's going to play on the top line with Scheifele and with Kyle Connor. I was thinking about the Jets out because I didn't know what the future held with Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele. I thought if Winnipeg started slow, then they could trade those two guys, and then it would be a full-on rebuild, which they probably should do, but they retooled. They released Blake Wheeler, but they got Iafallo and Velarde in that trade, so I think they're a touch deeper, and they're just really strong in goal with Hellebuck, so I have them in. The Preds are just really, really young. If they struggle, I could see UC Saros traded. Edmonton, LA, Vegas, Seattle, Calgary, Vancouver, San Jose, and Anaheim in the Pacific. Long seasons for the Ducks and the Sharks. A lot of people have the Canucks in the playoffs. Rick Tarkett, turned them around in the second half. He's a good coach. He's a coach of the year candidate. I know Lee likes him a bit, but the Canucks, is their defense really bolstered? I don't know. They made some changes, but Thatcher Demko, can he stay healthy? What Thatcher Demko are we going to get when he's healthy? It seems like he's ready to go. Offensively, they have a couple dudes that I like, but Brock Besser, can he give us a full season? I like Miller. I like Kuzmenko. I like Elias Pettersson. The reason I have Calgary ahead is because their defense is great. They moved on from Sutter. Their defense really is good. Can they get a save from Jacob Markstrom? Can he just be above average? 2 years ago, he was fantastic. Last year was awful. Can he be somewhere in between? Because they were among the leaders in eliminating high danger chances and shot attempts and shots at 5-5. Offensively, they continue to lose pieces. Is Lindholm gone? Can Kadri bounce back? Can Huberdeau bounce back? Sharon Govich could be out for a breakout campaign. Mikael Backlund was good. Backlund was good last season. But I can't put them over the Kraken, and I can't put them over the Golden Knights, and I love the Kings. I think they may be the deepest team in the middle of the ice with the addition of Pierre-Luc Dubois. So we'll continue here with some futures, and this is what I have for predictions. So we have Toronto, Florida, and Ottawa in the playoffs, top three spots in the Atlantic. You got New Jersey, Carolina, and New York in the playoffs, top three spots in the Metro. I have the Pittsburgh Penguins in, and I got Boston in. And I'll tell you what, I had them out originally. I had Boston out and Tampa out. I had Buffalo in there. I was like, the Sabres get in. I ended up landing on the Bruins getting in because of the experience they have, because of the defense, and they are strong in goal. But I think it will be a struggle. We'll get into a point total that I like in just a little bit from them. I got Toronto being the top team in the Eastern Conference, the top team in the Eastern Conference in the regular season. A little bit of a sprinkle on them. Other candidates would be the Devils, maybe Carolina. Like those three teams I do believe are in the running, and in the betting guide, which I think we have a link inside the description of this video. We have some, little sprinkles and bets on futures and odds like that. So New Jersey, for example, 6-1 to win the Eastern Conference, half a unit on that, win the President's Trophy at 9-1. And we do have them in the bet tracker to win the Stanley Cup at 13-1. In the West, Dallas, Colorado, Minnesota, top three teams. In the Central, we have Edmonton, LA, and Vegas, top three teams in the Pacific. We have Seattle as a wildcard team, and Pittsburgh as a wildcard team, or Winnipeg, as a wildcard team. Again, a lot of different ways I wanted to go here. I was really thinking about Arizona, Calgary, Vancouver. I just don't think Arizona is ready just yet. So I have the Jets in here. It's an uneasy feeling, but I do like them locking up Hellebuck and Scheifele. I have the Western Conference champs being Dallas. It was really tough for me between Dallas or the Edmonton Oilers. We know the Edmonton Oilers are going to score score again. The power play may regress, but it'll probably still be at 30%. I thought that they're more balanced after the addition of Ekholm. I know he's going to miss a little bit of time, but the addition of him and then Stuart Skinner was great last year. They can just get something, a capable backup and Soupy Campbell, who had a decent preseason. Maybe he can give him something. But the Stars here are the team that I like. President's Trophy again, plus 1150. Western Conference to win it, 8-1. To win the Cup, it's 16-1. And as you see, I have them in the finals with New Jersey. What is this? Like, what was that, 2000? Ed Belfour and Jason Arnott and Sikora and Ilyash and all those boys, but maybe a little rematch there. I have Dallas and New Jersey. I think as you see the Final Four, I got Toronto being the best team in the regular season. They're just a good regular season team, guys. Final Four, Toronto, New Jersey, Edmonton, and Dallas, that Final Four there. I got Jake Ottinger to win the Stanley Cup. I see a lot of comments. We'll get to them. I just want to continue to roll through here. Here are the award predictions. The first guy is the player I think is going to win. And then I have in the conversation or nominees. So Hart, it just seems like such a sucker thing to come in here with McDavid. But if this guy plays a full season, it's like Ohtani, right? It's his award. You just name it after him and give him to somebody else. Like if he plays a full season, he has 150 points. Like, of course, it's McDavid. You can't bet it. It's too juiced. It's tough, right? I got some other guys, some longer shots in the tracker. Jack Hughes is 18-1. Matthews is 16-1. Tim Stützle's 100-1. Jake Ottinger's 200-1. But I got Hughes and Matthews here in the conversation with McDavid, Art Ross, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hughes in the conversation. Rocket, I went with Matthews. Again, McDavid, there's no value there. Matthews is plus 550. We have Draisaitl and Thompson on the board here. Tage Thompson's 21-1. Jack Eichel is 16-1. Alex Ovechkin's 35-1. Ovechkin showed me that he still has it, guy. What, 40 goals last year? Missed some time. He's like 72 away from chasing down Wayne Gretzky. He still has it. 35-1 is interesting. Cole Caulfield at 60-1. Adrian Kempe, anybody? This guy is an elite goal scorer. He is 100-1. And Clayton Keller is 300-1. And as I said earlier, only Pasternak and McKinnon had more 5-on-5 goals than Clayton Keller over the last 2 months of the season. I got Keefe here winning Coach of the Year. Rough, conversation. DeBoer conversation. Bedard, for Rookie of the Year, minus 140. I would bet it. I think if he plays the full season, he's good to go. But, taking shots on other guys like Luke Hughes at 9-1, Levi at 12-1, Matthew Nyes at 30-1. Interesting little flyers there. And then I got some player futures here for you guys. Cool. Most of these are from DraftKings and CoolBet. I believe CoolBet is Canadian only, but I have a ton of futures in the free article, but these are the ones that I've narrowed down to be my favorite. Cole Caulfield over 32.5 goals. He had like 40, he had like 26 goals, I think, in 40-ish games. Cole Caulfield over 32.5. Korpisalo is going to be the guy in Winnipeg or in Ottawa, excuse me. He's going to play 60+ games. 24.5 is way too low. One of my favorite fantasy options, especially in leagues with saves. He's been pretty much rock solid over the course of his career, last few years especially, with mediocre goalies or a defenseman, in front of him. But Columbus, he was a big part of why they swept Tampa that one year. I just think he's a really good goalie, and they paid him to be the guy, and they've been missing the guy. Like they traded Gustafsson, was a bad trade, but they got a guy now in Korpisalo over 24.5 wins. Our guy, Roope Hintz, over 36.5 goals and 79.5 points. Adrian Kempe over 67.5 points. I think he had 67 points last year. Kings are more loaded offensively this year, and I think he could take another leap forward. Georgiev over 34.5 wins. Samsonov over 32.5 wins. Jake Ottinger over 35.5 wins. Levi over 23.5 wins. I think he's going to be the guy in Buffalo. I really do. I think he could win 30 games for the Sabres this year. Marchand under 70.5 points. It's just really, this one's an easy one for me. I don't think he's going to be a point per game if he misses time, and it's just not the same roster. Nugent Hopkins at over 80.5 points. He had 100 points last year. He's going to regress, but he had 100 points. He had 50 on the power play. He's going to be in that top six. Going to be on that power play. Bouchard at over 58.5. We saw Adam with the 60+ at plus money. I have a long shot sprinkle on Bouchard, 80+ points at 10-1. That's from DraftKings. And we have Clayton Keller over 33.5 goals. We have Elias Pettersson over 86.5 points, a quiet 100 points for Pettersson, even a little bit of regression. I think we're there. Stützle at over 87.5 points, and Jonathan Drouin at over 32.5 points. I got other long shots like 40+ goals for Kempe at 3-1. Cole Caulfield, 40+ goals at plus 450. Clayton Keller, 40+ goals at 7-1. Gabriel Velarde, smallest sprinkle ever, at 40 plus goals at 20-1. Alex Tuck over 71.5 points. We got Stützle at over 36.5 goals. We have Jonathan Drouin at over 8.5 goals. We have UC Saros at over 28.5 wins. We have, I think that's it. Suzuki at over 63.5 points. You know, he did that last year with the Habs having the most man games lost. And Suzuki over 23.5 goals. Again, did that last year. And if the Habs can stay healthy, they'll actually compete here a little bit. We're going to wrap up with this. These are the point totals. A few of them, again, a lot in the article. Toronto over 105.5, Boston under 101.5, New Jersey over 105.5, Dallas over 105.5, LA over 99.5, Arizona over 79.5 points. The Habs did this last year. And again, they had the most man games lost. So if these guys can stay healthy in their lineup, I'm not saying they're going to be a good team, right? They're going to be in the lottery conversation, but they did this last year with 5 rookie defensemen, Allen missing time, and everyone, Caulfield, Kirby Dach, Monahan, Dvorak, like everybody missed time, 70.5. Columbus over 72.5, and the Ducks at under 70.5. There are like 30 comments. So I'm going to address them, and then we'll get out of here. What do we got? Stanley Cup predictions. I think we went there. Bruins have missed the playoffs. One of my favorite futures too. I know. And you know what? I'm kind of kicking myself for second guessing. It's not the feedback that I got because I won't let people get into my head. But I originally had Boston. When I put together this article, I had Boston out of the playoffs. And I even put, when I did their team preview, because I have a team preview for everybody, fantasy targets and my favorite futures. The article is very detailed, guys. If you want to check it out, it's free at ftmbets.com. I know there's a lot there, but at the end of it, I gave like my top few if you just want to sprinkle a couple. The Bruins at plus 225 to not make the playoffs. I think that's worth a little bit of a stab. I really do. Adam, you're super sharp, so clearly on the same page with Boston. You got New Jersey and Seattle in the cup. Okay, I like that. You miss Lion's your guy. Not last place. You're not last place. It's the Ducks. It's the Ducks. You know, I like some of the moves with the Sharks. Like they still, you know, with Hurdle and Couture, they're still pretty deep. Like not deep, but those are two. That's a good 1A and you know, those are good 2 centers. Hoffman is going to be frustrating to watch. Tell you what, I'm glad he's out of Montreal. But Hoffman can score some goals for you in the power play. Mikael Granlund's like he's got a little bit something. They got some better players, right? Some better players. You know, some younger kids there, but they're not last place. They're just really weak in goal. How many points do you think the Bruins end up with? So I have them in the playoffs. I think that they're like 96 points in between 92 and 96, 98, but the under 101.5. Are you guys with me on that one? At least 101.5. It's, I think we see Boston and Tampa take that step back. Last year, Pittsburgh and Washington took that step back. Nobody wanted to believe it. It was the first year I don't know, ever. Maybe in like 15 years we hadn't seen Ovechkin and Crosby in the playoffs. I know that Crosby missed the first couple of years, but those two guys have always been in the playoffs. They took the step back. I think Tampa, without Vasilevsky for the first 2 months, what if he suffers a setback and comes back? He's not healthy. Again, losing some depth. And it's just Boston lost so much, guys, so much. And I'd say I know Vegas has him over 100 points. To see other projections over there. I love Dom Luszczyszyn from Athletic. You know, my colleague there, former colleague, and he does some great work. He's a cracking out mostly because they overachieved at 5-5, but I still think that they're in. And you know, it's got the Bruins as a Stanley Cup contender, and I don't think that they're a Stanley Cup contender unless they're going to make some moves. You can't tell me that you guys think they're a Stanley Cup contender with Zacha and Coyle down the middle of the ice. Like if they make the playoffs, great, but they're going to go up against some teams that can overmatch them in the center ice position. And if my goodness, if something happens to Pasternak, they're not going to snip the playoffs. I got them in. I'm at like 90, 94, 96 points. What I project there. They have goalies, good goalies. I think maybe that's Boston, right? Or maybe New Jersey. New Jersey's got amazing. I think that Schmid's going to overtake them. 2 hot takes this year. Laine getting 40 goals. You know, if Laine played, Jack Hughes winning Rocket is a good one, right? We talked about that one with the projections there, predictions. You know, if Laine played 82 games, he would flirt with that number. It's just, and it's unfair for me to say I don't want to be that guy. I want all these guys to stay healthy, but we have a history here of Laine missing a little bit of time. And 40 goals is a nice, bold prediction, and he certainly can do it. He's still got one of the better releases in the NHL. Ooh, I like this one. Atkinson to lead the Flyers at 10-1. What's Owen Tippett? These leading the teams in goals, where are you getting those, Adam? Because I wouldn't mind diving in. Is that over at DraftKings to lead their teams in goals? I'm pretty intrigued in that market, and I may come up with a couple and put some in the bet tracker. But Atkinson's a good one. Flyers are pretty thin. Owen Tippett, I think, is I'm sure Konechny's favor, but Owen Tippett might be pretty solid there. McKinnon over. We do have that one in the article over 39.5. I just wanted to come up with my top 10 there. Georgiev over wins. Yeah, we have. So it's just a lot of comments here, not a lot of questions. So I think we're going to get out of here. You can only bet at Caesars mistakenly drop. Okay, so that's Caesars for the team ones. Love Caulfield, Keller, Kaprizov, alternate goals, Kempe, like this one, Kempe plus 175. I'm worried about Pierre-Luc Dubois because what I've seen so far, and it's just preseason, is Arvidsson's on that first power play in LA, and it's not Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's on the quote unquote third line with Fiala, but the second power play, of course, they can move things around. I mean, Leon props, sure, but what do we, we're asking a whole lot for Leon props. I mean, just because it's so high. I didn't even bother. I think I saw the number and I just moved on. If an injury happens, some of those guys so those high, like superstar players, I just think they're a little bit too high. So I stay away. Like Matthews, I think Matthews get 100 points. Sure. I think he can get 100 points. I'm not going to bet it. He's done it once in his career, but yeah, I have no problem with, Draisaitl over, I thought his goal total was like 48.5 or 50. I just can't get, it's just too high, right? If an injury happens, I'd rather take the unders on things like that. Market have moved pretty heavily against the Bruins. They got under 104.5 and missed the playoffs in July. Yeah, I was snoozing on that one. That's a good one, but I still take the under 101.5 points and the plus 225. Teams you will be looking to fade early on in the season. These are like from a side standpoint. The Panthers may be one of them. The Panthers just with some of their players hurt at the moment, and Bennett and Montour and Ekblad and Bobrovsky, coming back or back down to earth. I think that's a team that I would avoid early on. That's a really good question. Boston's another one I'm probably avoiding. Books are going to have them as heavy favorites. I think their first game is against Chicago. They probably win that one. But their team, Boston and Tampa, these teams that, we're used to seeing be fantastic, I would be looking to avoid them, early on. And teams that I want to get in on maybe early on would be like Columbus or Arizona. Okay, so Bet Rivers is where it is for the points and goal leaders. Okay, gotcha. All right, I think we're out of here. Some people that just jumped in here. We'll recap one more time. We got Taylor Hall here over 2.5 shots at plus 150. We have Taylor Hall for a point. We have Jared McCann for 3+ shots over at FanDuel. We also like Taylor Hall for an assist and a little sprinkle there on the power play point. Jonathan Marchessault and Forsberg over 2.5 shots. Bedard over 2.5. Ryan O'Reilly at over 1.5. Jonathan Marchessault and Jack Eichel for a point. Also like Forsberg for a point at minus 125. I like Jake Gensel for an assist at plus 100. And we talked about some goal scorers here. I like the over between Pittsburgh and Chicago. Pittsburgh in 60 or puck line. Goal scorers, I have Jonathan Marchessault, Sidney Crosby, Taylor Hall, Braden Point, Philip Forsberg, Jared McCann. I had Riley Smith in the article, but Gensel coming back maybe takes me off of that a little bit. I think Rickard Rakell is another good one there as well. I think Pittsburgh scores a couple goals here tonight. I like the Kraken to go in and beat the Golden Knights. We can have some fun with, as we said, some same game parlays. We had a loaded one that I will put in the tracker. It's 60-1, and putting in all the Pittsburgh guys and the Taylor Hall and the Bedard. And then you can do some, like, just take line mates, Marchessault and Eichel, Bedard and Matty Beniers, and away we go. Appreciate you guys. Missed you all so much. And we will be back on Thursday. I'll try to get a guest for Thursday's show, and Eric will be back in a couple of days, and we will be ready to go. And we want to have a Dangle Bet Celly Fantasy Hockey League too. So hit me up if you guys want to do that. We'll try to do a draft or something next week. All right. Have a good one. Good luck. Hockey's back. Talk to you soon. Use promo code Meaney if you're looking to be part of the FTM betting package and you want to be part of the fam. Talk to you soon. Cheers.